Today we're talking about what's, in my opinion, the most interesting releases that are announced at E3 so far. I've watched through all the trailers, I've had a good look at all the games and researched a little bit into them, and I have kind of created my top 10 out of that, and I want to share that with you, as well as talking about some other games. I mean, you probably all expected this part, but the winner will of course be Microsoft Flight Simulator. Nothing is going to beat that game ever, and I'm sure all of you are going to play it. But let's look at the rest as well, shall we? I'd like to preface this by saying that this is for the games that have been announced for Saturday and Sunday, so what comes after will be in a future video. And let's start this one out with some honorable mentions. There are two games here that didn't quite make the top 10 in a sense, but I think are worth mentioning anyways. One of them is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Now, I think that game looks absolutely fantastic, and I've only ever really heard great things about Ori, but that's just the point. I've only heard great things about it. I've never really played it, I don't have any experience with it, and I am not exactly interested in what the game is, that kind of platforming game. I guess played too many platformers when I was younger. But for those of you who are interested in that, I think this will probably be a fantastic game based on how the trailer looks, at least so far. So visually it's a very, very pleasing one, and I think people are gonna have a lot of fun with this. It's just not for me. The other one that gets mentioned here is for another reason, and that's The Outer Worlds. Now, The Outer Worlds looks pretty cool. I would say it gives off a very, very strong Fallout vibe overall, with a little bit more space added to it, and that's kind of the intention. It's kind of based on the studio and everything as well. The problem that I had with this is that the trailers didn't really add much that we didn't know about. Yeah, we saw some abilities a little bit here and there, but nothing really that made this game stand out more or gave me the feeling, okay, this is what's different from Fallout, for example. So it looks cool-ish, but then it also has the whole drama at the moment with the Epic launch and everything. So I remain skeptical, as much as it kind of looks like an interesting game overall. And that brings us to my number 10, which is Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite will be released for PC, Xbox, and for the new Scarlet, whatever it's going to be called, that is going to be released in the future. It's by 343 Industries, I think that's at least how you call them, and not 343, not quite sure. The people behind Halo. And the trailer looks at least interesting. It kind of shows us a little bit of a back to the roots in terms of design, in terms of story and everything. And I think that so far seems cool, at least. The problem is that as a PC player, I haven't really been able to follow the whole Halo series. That is going to change now, but I haven't played anything since Halo 1, to be exact. I was definitely pleased by the nostalgia vibes that they put into the trailer overall, also with the musical score and everything. So they did that part right, and we'll just have to see how the game develops from that point on, what direction they're taking with it, and how well it will weave into the storyline overall. So, not too much known yet, but what we know seems interesting at least. Number 9 is Doom Eternal. Now, Doom Eternal is actually not on here for its gameplay itself. It's a game by Bethesda, and it's gonna come out for PC, Xbox, PS4, and even Switch. Thing is, we know what Doom Infinite is at this point. We've seen enough trailers, and it's not really anything that we didn't expect. Yeah, you cut demons in half, that's just Doom for you. But what's interesting about this is the multiplayer aspect. Doom will have a unique multiplayer that will allow you to play 2v1. And that is the Doom guy versus 2 demons. And I don't know how exactly the game mode will work, but there will be options to spawn demons as well when you're playing the demons. So you have creeps or whatever, and both of the demons together should be around the same strength as a Doom guy, I suppose. The Doom guy is going to be like super stacked, and the demons are going to be a little bit weaker in comparison. That's why it's 2v1. Why I think this is interesting is because we had a concept like that with Evolve in the past, even though it was a 4v1 there, and it flopped pretty hard. And I kind of want to see how Doom pulls this off, and it could be interesting if we will actually hear about this multiplayer mode at any point in the future at all, or just a horrible idea. Then in spot number 8, we have Ghostwire Toyko. We don't know all too much about it because it's a very mysterious type of trailer. The game is going to be an action-adventure and is by Tango Gameworks, who also made Evil Within. I haven't played those games, so I can't judge them, but I can say that this trailer seemed very intriguing to me and left me wondering about the game as a whole, with people suddenly disappearing in Tokyo, and I just want to know what's behind that. Of course, the first initial thought was that's a Thanos snap meme, but maybe the concept just turns out cool, and it's something I'm looking forward to and I see potential in. Now, I'm gonna apologize for spot number 7 in advance, and if it bothers you too much, feel free to just skip over it. I do not want to offend anyone. I know this is a highly controversial topic, but I am going to give spot number 7 to Fallout 76 Year 2. Why? Because I think that Fallout 76 wasn't actually really released last year. When it came out, it was more of a test version, an alpha, whatever, a pre-game demo, whatever you want to call it. Whereas now they're taking all the steps to overhaul the game and make it what it should have been from the start, from most people's perspective. What makes me say that? On one hand, of course, many of the bugs that came out back then are fixed now, but more importantly, we will see NPCs in the game now. There will be non-playable human characters. 2 different factions, and you can team up with one of them, and you have a story behind that and everything around that. And I think that's what a lot of people have been asking for, and I actually want to return to Fallout 76 at some point this year and at least revisit it to see how those stories are. They have also introduced a Battle Royale mode. Yeah, let's introduce another Battle Royale mode, right? I agree. I absolutely agree, and I'm completely skeptical about this because I am so fed up with Battle Royale modes. But what's worth pointing out here is that some people that were very critical of the company had early access to this apparently. There was a Reddit post about that, and they were at least decently happy with the mode. And what I thought was really cool is that you can use your camps in Battle Royale, so you can basically set up traps through your camps or have a turret station or whatever. And there will also be PvE in the Battle Royale through collecting nukes and fighting mobs and all that kind of stuff. So overall, it seems like the mode is not a full-on classic BR, and I think I like that much better than the idea of just another 50 people shooting each other. In that context, Bethesda's also going to make the game free to play for a week starting tomorrow, so it's worth a shot, I guess. It's worth looking at for once and seeing how it feels now when it's free anyways. But moving on to less controversial games. In spot number 6, I have Deathloop. Deathloop hasn't gotten any gameplay or anything yet, but the trailer, again, seems like something that I could absolutely get into. In this case, it's more about the concept than the trailer itself though. The story of the game seems to be 2 characters that are stuck in some sort of time loop and constantly kill each other over and over and over. And through that, somehow they learn more about things, and then I don't know how that all plays together, but they also have superpowers, normally fight with guns. And we'll see how that all works out, but it gave me a very strong love, death and robots kind of vibe, and I would enjoy a game like that. It's also made by Arcane Lyon, which are kind of known to have good games when it comes to decisions and story-driven games. They are the makers of Prey and, more notably in this context, Dishonored 1 and 2. And now we get into the hot zone. These are the top 5s, and in my opinion, these are very interchangeable in terms of where you would put them. I put them in an order, but you could easily change that order and I'd be completely down for it. In spot number 5, I have Elden Ring, and that could easily be higher if I had played any game by From Software. Those are the makers of Dark Souls, of Sekiro, so most of you are probably familiar with them. And I never really got into those games, to be honest. But I may very much get into Elden Ring. There is a summary of what this game is in terms of the kind of game. It's a third-person, dark fantasy, action, open-world RPG. Got that all? Okay, so some story-driven RPG in an open world, it seems, which has a very dark fantasy vibe to it. But why is that so cool? Because the story for the game is written by George R.R. Martin, aka the guy behind A Song of Ice and Fire, aka what's now known as Game of Thrones. So the story of this will probably be very, very good, and I am excited for very good story writing in a game like this. According to an interview with the developer, the game is going to be more RPG than Sekiro was, which is, I think, good because you have some more equipment choices. And according to the dev, again, this is gonna lead to much more combat variety, even more than the Dark Souls games themselves have. So that is something that I personally didn't like about the past games, that often they were kind of repetitive. But other than that, a lot of the formula stays the same, still hardcore bosses and everything, so that part isn't gone. Elden Ring is gonna be released for PC, Xbox and PS4. And then there is the other controversial entry on this list, and that is Bleeding Edge. I know a lot of people are opposed to the visual styles, a lot of people are opposed to it being multiplayer, and a lot of people are opposed to how it overall is supposed to work, and they say it'll be dead on arrival, and they may very well be right. Who knows? Too early to say. But what we know about this game is for PC and Xbox, it is by Ninja Theory, who made the reboot of Devil May Cry, which was kind of controversial itself. I think I was one of the few people who actually liked that. And they made Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And a lot of people liked Hellblade, and they liked the single-player story-driven dark aspects of it, and this game has none of that, so they are very upset. But especially after also having watched some first impression videos from people who had the chance to play the game, I gotta say, I am super excited for this. It is very frequently compared to Smite already, and as somebody who has played a lot of Smite, that is obviously appealing to me, because of the mix of abilities and basic attacks used in this game, basically. Of course, it's an arena game and not a MOBA, but it's apparently somewhat close to the concept of Smite's arena, though not quite the same, and then obviously also very different in many regards. Why is it compared to it? Because it's so focused on melee combat. There is ranged combat still, but it's not the primary fighting scenario. It's a 4v4 team fighting game based on abilities and based on melee combat primarily. You can also use the environment to fight, like throw someone in front of a train or something. That all goes together into a very wacky mix from what I can tell of Smite, Borderlands, Overwatch, a little bit of Smash Brothers, a little bit of maybe Mortal Kombat or something, just the environment kind of fighting game type. And actually they're looking for people that play both MOBAs and fighting games as well, which to me gives off that vibe that the game is somewhere in between. The character variety is crazy, you can even play as a grandma, and it gives me a vibe of gigantic as well, which I very much miss. So while this is definitely not the biggest announcement of E3, this is the game that I am super hyped for. And you can actually sign up for the alpha, which starts on June 27th on bleedingedge.com, which I did, so if I get in, I might see you in the game. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, but let's move on to number 3. And that is Cyberpunk 2077. Coming out for PC, Xbox and PS4, and it now has a release date, which is the 16th of April 2020. So next year. The developing company behind it is, of course, CD Projekt Red, and I don't really need to say all too much about it, I think, because most of you know what it is at this point. It's a cyberpunk game, story-driven RPG in the future, and apparently Keanu Reeves is in it now. The game looks very exciting so far from what we can see, and the whole modification aspect of it, the body modification, seems very, very cool. So we'll see how it turns out, but what we've seen so far is very likable. And that brings us to the totally not biased spot number 2, the new Borderlands 2 DLC that just came out. Absolutely love it. I love that it's free, I love that it's big, and I love that there's new content in it. So I love that it bridges the gap in the same way that I'm going to bridge this gap right now to spot number 1, and that is Borderlands 3. Did we really see much more about Borderlands 3 in the trailers than we've seen already? Not that much. We know it's going to be released on the 13th of September already, and we kind of know the base outline of the story. We get a new trailer, we see some more about it, but it's still the same thing. Does that lower my excitement by any degree when it's a Borderlands game? Absolutely not. And I am so looking forward to it. So those are my personal top 10. Let me know in the comments down below what you like the most and what you are looking forward to. If you enjoyed this, feel free to click the like button. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell. It really helps me out. See you for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth, out.